Hello and welcome to this lecture on advanced topics. In this section, we will go through some advanced concepts. There are no exercises for these, as these are more of concepts than code. Also, these are out of scope for this beginner's course, and hopefully I will get to make an advanced course with coding exercises for some of these topics. But it is important that you have a high-level idea of the additional capabilities and support in Ansible, so that if you wish, you could refer to the Ansible documentation page and get these done yourself. We're going to breeze through these topics, which includes preparing a Windows server to work with Ansible, what Ansible Galaxy is, what are patterns, dynamic inventory, and finally, how to develop a custom module. As we discussed in the first lecture, Ansible control machine can only be Linux and not Windows. However, Windows machines can be targets of Ansible and thus be part of automation. Like how Ansible connects to a Linux machine using SSH, Ansible connects to a Windows machine using WinRM. But WinRM may not be enabled by default on a Windows machine, so there is some configuration required to set up WinRM on Windows machine. Remember, you don't need to install anything on Windows, so this is still agentless configuration. Some of the requirements for setting up Ansible to work with Windows is to have the pywinrm module installed on the Ansible control machine. This can be done with the command pip install pywinrm and by specifying the version, which is 0.2.2. Once this package is installed on the Ansible control machine, we will need to set up WinRM on the Windows server. Now there are different ways of doing this. An easy way to do this is to use the script provided by Ansible called the configure remoting for Ansible script. This is a PowerShell script, and you can download this script and run this on the Windows server, which will set up WinRM on the Windows server, enabling Ansible to connect remotely. There are different modes of authentication that you can set up, like basic or certificate-based or Kerberos, NTLM, etc. You can find more information about this in the Ansible documentation site. If you go to the Windows support section, you will get detailed instructions on how to set this up. So if you look at here, there are the different modes of authentication. And if you scroll all the way down, there is a section called Windows System Prep. And here you have a link to the PowerShell script to be run on the Windows. So download the script and run using the instructions provided here, and you should be all set. Ansible Galaxy is a free site for downloading, sharing, and rating all kinds of community-developed Ansible roles. This is a great way to get a jump start on your automation projects. The website is galaxy.ansible.com, and as you can see, if you browse through this website, you should be able to see a lot of roles available here. So remember, we talked about roles earlier. So if you click on browse roles, you will be able to see the different roles people have created and shared in Ansible. And this is where you can share your roles and download. Other users can download your roles. So once you create an Ansible project, you can simply download any existing roles from Ansible Galaxy using Ansible Galaxy command line. And as we saw in the earlier section, it is as easy as assigning the downloaded roles to your host in your playbook. So check this out when you get time. It's really interesting site to browse. And once you start developing your own Ansible roles, share it with others and get feedback from others. Patterns. We have seen how to define what hosts we run tasks against. If you remember, this is done by specifying the name of the host in the host file. This could be a single host or a group of hosts, but there are additional options. You could use a pattern here. Let's see the different options available. You could specify multiple hosts at a time by entering the name of the host separated by a comma, as you can see here on the right, host 1, host 2, host 3. That's one option. Or you could have selections of groups and hosts. So for example, I'd like to run a set of commands against all servers part of group 1 and also on host 1, which is not part of group 1. Or you could use patterns like wildcards. In this case, host star will run the playbook against all the hosts that start with the name host. Or like in the last example, as you can see, you can run playbook on all the hosts that end with a .company.com DNS suffix. There are additional options available for patterns. If you look at the Ansible documentation page, you will be able to see some information here. There are some good examples that you can browse through, and this should be easy to figure out. Dynamic inventory. We have seen inventory information defined in inventory files like this, but it is not necessary to always define your inventory information in these files, because this is a static file and you will have to change that manually. If you were to integrate Ansible with any other source of inventory in your environment, then you will need to make this inventory dynamic. Ansible supports having dynamic inventory files. Typically, in Ansible, you specify the input file using the -i parameter. For dynamic inventory, instead of specifying a file, you specify a script, in this case, a Python script. As you can see here, there are two examples of command. The first one is Ansible playbook -i inventory.txt and then the playbook name. In this case, we are specifying a static inventory file named inventory.txt. In the second example, we are specifying inventory.py, which is a Python script. The Python script is responsible for reaching out to whatever sources you have for inventory and giving back Ansible a list of groups, hosts, and their information. There are multiple scripts already available for dynamic inventory for solutions like Cobbler, AWS, OpenStack, etc. So check it out at the Ansible documentation site. We learned about a few modules through the course, like command, script, line-in file, service, etc. These are basically Python programs that perform specific actions. If you don't find a module that satisfies your requirement, you can develop your own module. You simply need to write a Python program and place it in the modules directory on your server. The program, though, has to be written in a particular format. You can get a template to start with at the Ansible documentation page. If you go to the Ansible documentation website and go into the playbooks special topics and go into the developer information section and click on Ansible developer guide, you have a section for developing modules. If you go into this section, you have different topics called building a simple module, documenting your module, etc. Click on building a simple module and you'll have some sample Python programs for getting started with developing custom modules. Go through this and follow the instructions to develop your own custom modules. So to conclude, we discussed about various topics surrounding Ansible, what Ansible is and what it can do for us, how to set it up, install it. We also went through an introduction to YAML. We did some hands-on practice on YAML. We practiced some inventory files and playbooks, and we worked with variables, conditionals, loops, etc. And we also looked at what roles are, how we can use them, and what Ansible Galaxy is, and how to search for roles in Ansible Galaxy and use that in our project. You should now be in a position to start developing your own Ansible playbooks and start testing them. Remember to refer to the Ansible documentation site at all times for new modules and instructions on using them. This is a basic course, and hopefully I will get to develop an advanced course covering some advanced topics in the future. So thank you so much for your time and hope you had a good learning experience. Do let me know your feedback, or if you notice any issues with any of the exercises, please do write to me and I will try to get them fixed as soon as possible. Once again, thank you very much for your time and for taking up the course, and happy automating.